All right, welcome back to Draws and Fades, episode 104, preview of the Scottish Open. We'll be in, North Berwick, I believe, Scotland, this week. And episode 104, North Berwick, Scotland. I'm your host, Owen Rabel, joined by my co-host, Matthew Miller.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back.
And producer, Nick Boss.
What's going on, fellas? How we doing?
Not too bad, little 1 week hiatus, and Matt's boy JT Poston wins the John Deere.
The postman.
Of course,
I'm just glad the postman delivered on Thursday as well this week.
There you go. Yes, producer Boss hit a first-round leader bet on Poston this week, so that's pretty much all the golf. I mean, I didn't watch too much of the John Deere last week. It was kind of a nice week off into the 4th of July holiday. Kind of took it easy. There was also obviously Live Golf and DP World Tour event too. And Brendan Grace won the Live Golf event.
Yeah, Brendan Grace. He played well. Brendan Grace and the Four Aces.
And the
also
Four Aces.
Won the team portion of it. Yeah, led by DJ and Patrick Reed, and minor contribution from Pat Perez.
Very minor contribution from Pat Perez. So, I mean, we'll probably very briefly touch on the John Deere and the Live event, but make sure to win big in 2022 with rotoballer.com's PGA Premium Pass. Premium DFS package includes exclusive tools, DFS cheat sheets, research stations, our lineup optimizer, and so much more to help you win big. For a limited time, get your PGA Premium Pass for 50% off, and using our promo code DNF10 for another 10% discount. Just visit rotoballer.com/radio to sign up today and start rotoballing like a boss. So typically we do a little bit more of a recap, but we'll probably get quickly into the Renaissance Club Scottish Open week before the Open Championship at St. Andrews. This feels a little bit different this year because the new allegiance between the PGA and DP World Tour seems to be coming into fruition perfectly for this event in particular. I mean, we're going to be seeing a much stronger field than we typically would for the Scottish Open. We do see guys come over here as a little prep for the Open Championship, but even more so this year. And I think that's going to give us some really good odds in the middle of the board and just a stronger field in general than we typically get at the Scottish Open. And we'd probably not even typically be previewing it, as there is an alternate field event, the Barbasol Championship, this week being held stateside. We don't have many thoughts on that. If we get into maybe a few flyers to take on Barbasol, maybe a couple dip your feet in, maybe get a little 2-for-1 special, maybe do a little parlay with some of the bets on at the Scottish Open. But other than that, it's all about the Scottish Open, week away from the Open Championship. So we'll get into our strategy for this week for one and done betting. We'll go through the odds list on FanDuel. Like I mentioned, stacked field. Really, the only guy missing is Rory this week, of the top players in the world, and some of the Live guys. Although, because of Ian Poulter, the Live guys may have some good standing in terms of trying to weasel their way back into some of these events. So we do have some of the Live players in the field, and we don't even really know the full field of all the guys that have petitioned to get back into this event. So I'm sure that'll come out by tomorrow as we're recording here on a Tuesday. But we'll go through the field on FanDuel, give you our outright plays, top 10s, top 20s, one and done. Definitely don't forget one and done for me in particular. I'm still inside the top 200 in the Mayo Cup, so trying to finish the year strong with 7 events left before the Tour Championship. Give us a follow on Twitter at draws_n_fades, at Owen_Vrabel, and at MattyMills85. So, yeah, I mean, John Deere was pretty much, as good as JT Poston's played his entire career. So, shout out JT Poston. Matt did tip him on Twitter, technically, through who runs that little that thing you do?
Yeah, my guy, Gimme Bets. You can give him a follow, but yeah, he runs the weekly picks. I did put JT Poston out there. I hope you guys all followed that. If you didn't, I can't imagine. Yeah,
but yeah, wire to wire, and at a certain point, I thought that jumping in live would be a good idea. I had Stallings and Bezadenhout tickets, which ended up falling a little bit short. I did have Stallings in the one and done, so I was pretty happy with that. But Poston was just a monster all week. I mean, at a certain point, he was obviously went out hot 9 under on Thursday, and then Friday started off hot again, and he was like minus 13 through like his first 23 holes of the tournament, something absurd like that. And he just really never took his foot off the gas, and no one really challenged him. I mean, Stallings on Saturday got it within 2, and then posted birdied again coming down the stretch. So he had a 3-shot lead going into Sunday, and I never really felt like it was going to be anything other than JT Poston. So good for him. His second career win.
He has.
And he's been playing good golf.
Back in the Tournament of Champions next year.
Back in the Tournament of Champions. Does that mean, is that like a foreshadowing? You're going to take him to the Tournament of Champions?
Yeah, why not? Might as well.
Probably get some pretty good odds there.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's short field. He's probably going to be one of the deeper guys.
For sure. So him, Brendan Grace wins the Live event, and Adrian Meronk wins the DP World Tour event. So 3 winners coming into a Scottish Open week where we do have a nice little combination of PGA players, Euro Tour players, a much higher percentage of the American-born players playing this week in Scotland than there typically are. And it's interesting. I mean, we'll get into it, but the Scottish Open in the past has had some pretty unusual winners, I would think you could say. I mean, even just going back to last year with Minwoo Lee, Aaron Ryan 2020, and then Bernd Wiesberger in 2019, and Brandon Stone in 2018. So, and even just going back to last year, I know Minwoo Lee won, but some of the best players in the world were there. Rahm played, Burns played, Scheffler played, Fitzpatrick. You had a lot of the best players in the world there. And we're still seeing some of these kind of unknown, so to speak, Euro Tour players play really well in this event. So I think in terms of handicapping, it does make it a little difficult playing in Europe and playing in Scotland because we don't have a ton of data to back up a lot of our selections, especially if you're looking towards some of these guys that are playing solely on the DP World Tour. But that being said, it is definitely a tune-up event for a lot of these guys playing a link-style golf course the week before the Open. We'll see how much of a precursor that is to who plays well next week at the Open, let's say. Obviously, Colin Morikawa played pretty mediocrely at the best, I would say, at his Scottish Open debut, and then ended up winning the Open Championship the following week. So I don't know if it's going to play different. Like, it's not going to be nearly as difficult. So I don't know if you want to put all your eggs in that basket of guys who play well this week are definitely going to play well next week. So that being said, it doesn't really help for us handicapping this week, but here we are. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on the golf from last week, or should we just jump right into the Renaissance Club?
Yeah, I mean, I think we could just jump right into it this week. I can honestly say I did not watch much of the John Deere. I did follow the Live pretty closely. I think it was pretty successful event for them, but we don't need to dive too much into the recap.
Well, who played well, if you could give us that?
Dustin Johnson and Patrick Reed of kind of the bigger names, I thought played pretty well. Obviously, Brendan Grace won. Your boy Carlos Ortiz had the lead for a while. And
did he blow it?
Yeah, I mean, he played all right on Sunday too. It's just Grace caught him and passed him. And then DJ was sort of in the mix. Reed came storming back. So those were kind of the guys up top there. But pretty ruckus crowd. Some had it compared to the Ryder Cup. I don't know if I'd go that far, but a lot of the players were commenting on kind of the fan passion out there and how into it
the
they
good
were.
Old fans in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, actually, Patrick Reed actually had a hilarious comment in the post-round press conference. He's like, man, I might have to move out here to Portland. He's like, I never actually had fans cheering for me before.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like for a lot of these guys have been like villains on the PGA Tour to a certain degree, and now they're playing in these events that they are probably not getting like PGA Tour fans going to these events, but I think there'll be a mixed bag of people there, but a lot of positivity, I guess, for Patrick Reed.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say too, the one thing like that's interesting is, all the people who kind of hate on the Live and everything, they were saying how once the events came to the United States, like, oh, wait to see how the fans reacted, and seems like a pretty positive feedback from the crowd out there.
Could you hear the fans on the broadcast, or?
Yeah, I mean, you could see them. You could see it get crowded,
there.
and you heard what the players had to say. I mean, they were all saying the fans were great. They were encouraging them. So
yeah, well, no, I know, but the players saying shit doesn't really hold that much weight. I don't think.
Yeah,
They're
but
not
who else are going to
they're
listen
not
to
going
it?
to come out in their second event and be like, the fans sucked. Like, I don't even know why we're out here. Like,
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you don't take their word, what are you going to do? Just not take anything positive about the league seriously and anything negative run with it?
I mean, I would take it a little more seriously if Taylor Goochson compared to the Ryder Cup. It's tough. It's tough to like go off what they say when that's the benchmark that they're throwing out there.
Yeah, but people are bullshitting all the time. Like, I mean, I love Rory, but like him pretending that like it was awesome to win the RBC Canadian Open is also just as much bullshit. He doesn't care.
I don't know if
about
it's
that.
just as much bullshit. There were a shit ton of people at the RBC Canadian Open.
Yeah, but that's not an event he cares about.
Well, he's won it twice.
Yeah, they support Rory too. I mean, he definitely had a strong crowd contingency there too.
No, I was also saying, like, could you actually hear the fans on the broadcast?
Yeah, I mean, you can hear. I mean, they're there. You could see them cheering passionately. There was actually Greg Norman was tossing out beers to the gallery.
All right,
it's pretty.
All right,
it's pretty cool
I mean, yeah,
event,
I think it's a pretty hot start for the Live Golf. I mean, they had DJ in the mix. Obviously, Brandon Grace is a pretty well-known golfer, and Brooks played pretty well. Patrick Reed played pretty well. So we'll see. Obviously, Paul Casey is now the newest member of the Live Tour, so good for him, I guess. He can no longer break the hearts of PGA Tour bettors anymore, which is nice. I mean, not for me, because it's not like I ever really put my money on Paul Casey anyway. But yeah, other than that, I think we're going to see some – I think after the Open / after the Tour Championship, after the season really comes to an end, we'll see where all the chips lie. We'll see how many guys end up making the move. If they do end up getting any of these younger guys – and then what that means for some of the guys who signed up for the Live Tour and now, like, they're going to get pushed out because there's better 48 players than them. You know what I mean? Like, I think they're sticking pretty firm to, like, having a smaller field. So it'll be funny to see. I mean, maybe not funny, but, like, Chase Koepka, I guess he's going to have, like, a guarantee because of Brooks. But, like –
yeah, I guess some of the smaller guys, when they signed on for, like, one event contracts or 2 event contracts. And like with the amateurs, so my understanding of it, and this might not be 100% accurate, but with like the amateurs, like they're not PGA Tour members yet. So like they didn't technically get like banned from the PGA Tour. So they're signing on for a few events, making money, and then they're still eligible to compete on other tours because they technically didn't break the rules with that tour since they weren't a member. And then other guys have signed on for, season-long contracts or multiple-year contracts and stuff like that.
Right.
So I don't know how many guys that, signed on for a season that now they could be kicked off. But another thing that I think that they're starting to do is, like, with the last event, they were allowing more people to pick their teams. So I think, like, the captains are kind of going to be able to, like, go out and recruit now and try to get guys on their team, which I don't know how much withdrawal that's going to be or not be. But
well, they're not going to be signing the checks, though, either. Like, they can recruit, but then someone's got to, like, sign the signing bonus check.
Yeah, no.
It's not going to be a problem by any means, for sure. If they find
it seems like they're just kind of signing off on everything.
Yeah, no, they definitely don't care about money at all. So we'll see how it unfolds. And also, obviously, Poulter winning his petition to play in the Scottish Open this week. We'll see how that unfolds. They haven't ruled on the official world golf ranking points yet, right? I mean, it seems like they're definitely not earning any points currently by playing.
They're not currently. I mean, I don't know. I feel like they're confident they're going to get their way. I mean, I think the only way that not the only way, but I think the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour are hoping they don't, because that would kind of help put an end to it quicker if that's the case. But
Yeah.
I think there's still ways around it. I mean,
well, no, but then their other
tours, like there's
no. Well, then their other thing to stand on would be that is it okay for them to be banned from the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour if they're still meeting? See, that's the thing, is that it's going to be tough for them to meet the minimum requirements on the PGA Tour, the DP World Tour, while playing on the Live Tour.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the current way around it for them is to play Asian Tour events, because they can still get world golf ranking points through them, and they haven't been banned or anything like that. So I think that's kind of the one way they could go about it at the moment.
Right, which would make them like another easy target for people, like for them saying that they went over for like more time with their family and shit like that. Like they're gonna have to figure out ways to play more golf to be able to earn official world golf ranking points. If they do care about playing in the majors, if they don't, then they don't. But
yeah, I think a lot of their argument too for it is like strength of field. I mean, they had a pretty strong field last week, so I guess their argument is that they deserve world golf ranking points because they had a strong enough field to get them. And you get them at the Hero World Challenge, which is a 20-man, exhibition pretty much. I get it's technically like an invitational event, but if you're getting points there, I think it's fair you can get them at the live event.
No, you would think it would be fair. Yeah. But I guess we'll see as more unfolds at the live. Next event is in New Jersey, so we'll see. We may end up at a live event before too long. But more importantly, we have the Open Championship next week and the Scottish Open this week. So let's get into it. Renaissance Club, North Berwick, Scotland. We're in the Scotland territory, Matt. What are we working with the Renaissance Club? It's their 4th year here in a row. So
yes, 4th year at the event, as you mentioned earlier. Min Woo Lee won last year, -22. Aaron Rai won the previous year at -11. There was some high wins that year. That's why the winning score was only -11. And then Bernd Wiesberger won the year before at -21. It is a par 71, 7,293 yard course, links style, fescue greens. The setup, the breakdown, I should say, with the holes is 5 par 3s, 9 par 4s, and 4 par 5s. It's a Tom Doak architecture, design. 3 of the par 3s, getting into the particulars, are 200 plus yards, so longer par 3s. All 4 of the par 5s pretty gettable for the field, and there is a drivable par 4 5th hole that pretty much all the field should be able to reach if they elect to go for it. So that's kind of the breakdown there. I think obviously the winning scores have gotten into the 20s 2 of the last 3 years. The winds caused that not to happen with the Rye year. But if the weather holds up, which right now it doesn't look too bad, some keys to success this week, I would think, is to take advantage of those par 5s. There's going to be a lot of eagle opportunities out there. There's obviously a drivable par 4 to take advantage of as well. Stats that I'm looking for: opportunities gained this week. I think there's going to be a lot of birdies out there to be had. Approach, obviously, in every event is important. This event in particular, I think, will be no different. And based off of kind of the stats of the last 3 events, it seems like the leaderboard has been good in driving distance, but driving accuracy has not been that pivotal to success. A lot of the guys in the leaderboard last year weren't that accurate, so I'm favoring kind of distance over accuracy this week off the tee.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's a ball strikers approach guy course. I mean, we're going to see pretty low scores. We haven't had as a field as loaded as this one this year. So, I mean, we've mentioned this in terms of like events prior to major championships this year, is that sometimes it's tough to gauge motivation factors for some of these guys. But like we saw at the AT&T Byron Nelson with Spieth and JT and Hideki, we've seen guys play well the week before. I mean, they are tuning up to a degree, and they definitely are trying to get some link-style golf under their belt. But this week in particular, I think it's going to be gettable for a lot of these guys. We've seen some randomness to the winners in terms of having Aaron Rai, Bernd Wiesberger, Min Woo Lee. But I think this field is pretty loaded, and I think that the top of the board in terms of their elite ball striking is going to have a pretty good shot this week at going extremely low. And I think you're looking to play as good a golf as you can going into the Open. So even though there have been some randomness to the winners, and I think, it's not a bad week to throw some long shots out there. There are some lesser-known European Tour players who have played well this year. Could be worth a shot. Some Americans who haven't played much in Europe could be worth a shot. But I'm definitely looking at some of these elite ball strikers who are coming in good form. Like you said, I do like that the longer drivers of the golf ball should have an advantage here this week. So guys have been playing well on the par 5s. Like you mentioned, the birdies and opportunities gained, I think, are some key statistics. But I'm locking in a pretty pretty straightforward model this week in terms of stroke scan and approach, ball striking, driving distance, par fives. I did put in some 3-putt avoidance and stroke scan on the greens, but similarly to guys that aren't playing these events, I mean, the Americans in particular, like they're going to have to get used to these greens relatively quickly because there's a level of variance that I think is different than playing stateside. So
yeah,
we'll see once we get into the odds list, but with there being a lot of the best players in the world here, you're getting a ton of good numbers between 30 to 70, and I think that's a pretty good spot to live in this week in terms of making your card and feeling like you got a good shot and having multiple guys there on Sunday. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think it's a good point that we always kind of talk about it the week before a major, tough to judge motivation. I would say this time, maybe there's going to be a little bit more motivation and less kind of going through the motions for some of these guys, because for a lot of the guys who play all year on the PGA Tour, I mean, they're not seeing very many link style courses. I feel like they're going to have to take this a little bit more seriously because this is the only time they're really seeing this before, the Open.
Yeah, 100%. And then even if you go into, most recently, the RBC Canadian Open, obviously Rory wins. And then he played well at the U.S. Open. I mean, he definitely didn't win and wasn't really in contention to win, but finished inside the top 5 and played really well. Sam Burns played well at the RBC and also played well at the U.S. Open to a degree. So I think that it's not really a good narrative, so to speak, to kind of cross off some of these guys that have bigger goals in mind than winning the Scottish Open, because like you said, definitely looking to be pretty geared in heading into next week. And the most geared in you can be is to win this event and try to go 2 for 2. So, I think we're on the same page heading into the odds list. But like I mentioned, a lot of the top players are here. Rory McIlroy is really the only notable missing, and you're seeing that right off the bat on the odds list with Scotty Scheffler and Jon Rahm at 11-1 on FanDuel currently, and then Justin Thomas at 12-1. Pretty even across the board for them on a lot of these books. They've been pretty much co-favorites around 12-1. And then we got Matt Fitzpatrick coming off his U.S. Open win at 18. Xander Schauffele coming off his win at 18-1 as well. And then Patrick Cantlay, Will Zalatoris, and Colin Morikawa between 24 and 26 on FanDuel Sportsbook. So those are your top 8 guys there. Pretty strong. I mean, obviously Rory's really the only top guy not here, Matt. Did any of these, we even going down the board further, was there any like no doubter type bets you're making this week, or what did the top of the board kind of speak to you?
Yeah, I think they're all strong names, like you said. The board is pretty good. When you look at kind of 40 and under on here, they're all pretty good names. So of the very top that you mentioned, I'm not going to take any of them, but I think a lot of that is more a numbers play rather than kind of, fading any of these guys. I think you can make a strong case for almost all of them this week. And certainly if you have a guy out there that you like, I don't think there's any reason to stay away from any of them in particular. Like I said, I just think there's some guys that are one group down that I think have, almost as good of a chance to win this week. And I'm probably just going to play the value a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with that. I do think that I'm not going to get too crazy this week in terms of like laying some really heavy bets on some of these lower priced options like Scheffler, Rahm, or JT. I think that Rahm is in a great spot to potentially win this week. He does win a shit ton in Europe. He's playing pretty good golf, and I think he's played well at this course before. I could imagine him winning this week. I think he'd probably be my favorite of the favorites. But Matt Fitzpatrick coming off his U.S. Open win, Xander coming off his Travelers win, very difficult to go back-to-back. Those guys are obviously both in great form. Colin Morikawa, last time we saw him was at the U.S. Open. He finished top 5. And obviously last year in his first Open Championship, he wins. So it's not like he's going to be afraid of link-style golf. I could see him playing well this week. Although he did not play well here last year, like I mentioned earlier, in the lead up to the Open Championship last year.
That's when we got the
that he didn't feel comfortable.
Report that his clubs weren't reacting to the turf, and
well, I don't think it was a bullshit report. I think the dude is just a freak of nature. Like he could be not feeling good about his clubs and still be the best in the world that week, which is insane. But even if you go back to the U.S. Open, where apparently he's not been hitting his natural fade with any of his clubs, and he's got playing like a slight draw now. And I still took him at the U.S. Open, and he played really well. I mean, if he didn't completely shit the bed on Saturday, he would have been right in the mix on Sunday. So I think coming into this, he's got to be feeling pretty good, knowing that he really technically doesn't have his irons and, I mean, basically his whole bag working like he wants him to work, and he's still finishing top 5 at the U.S. Open. So, but that being said, I'm not going to take Morikawa as well, even though I do think that 26-1 number is pretty good. I think I'd rather probably take a chance on him next week rather than this week. And then Cantlay and Zalatoris, both still playing really good golf. I mean, Zalatoris, last time we saw him was at the U.S. Open and finished runner-up again. So he obviously withdrew from the Travelers, probably getting his head on straight, coming over to Scotland and looking to compete next week as well. So, again, Zalatoris, for me, I think I'd rather play him next week than this week. I'd like him better in a non-birdie fest, so to speak, which we've mentioned plenty of times with Zalatoris. But I think this week's going to be a little bit more open. There'll be a ton more birdies made. And it's hard. I mean, realistically, you could take Zalatoris at any tournament at this point, 25-1. He's going to win an event in his next 25 appearances. I'm pretty confident in that. But I'm not going to get there this week. So I'm with you, avoiding the top 8. I think they're all going to be pretty good plays. Although I guess I'm not fully understanding the Cantlay number, but he really does. He still does model out extremely well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the last time we saw him, he was right in the mix of the Travelers, and then he just kind of completely ejected himself from the tournament. I don't know what.
Yeah, like he finished 13th, but he was in the final group.
Yeah, that was that on Sunday was pathetic. But
yeah, so I mean, you look at his last 5 appearances: runner-up at the RBC, missed cut at the PGA, 3rd at the Memorial, 14th U.S. Open, 13th Travelers. So Cantlay is certainly trending as well. And it's sad to say, I have him available in my one and done league, and I'm considering him for this week and next week, I think. But I can't get there with an outright ticket, so that's pretty easy for me to disregard. So that being said, we're not taking any of the top 8 names on the board, so I think all our listeners know for the most part that means we'll be hammering the next section, which I'm fully expecting between me and Matt. So leading off the next tier, Sam Burns is at 27-1 on FanDuel, Cam Smith 28, Jordan Spieth 29, Hideki is at 34, Hovland as well at 34, and then Tommy Fleetwood, Joaquin Niemann 37 and 40 respectively, and then Sungjae Im, Ryan Fox are at 40-1 as well. So between 27 and 40, we got a bunch of names here, Matt. I have a feeling we're gonna knock a few of these out. So I'm just going to list off the guys at 45 as well. Lucas Herbert, Billy Horschel, Tyrrell Hatton at 45, and then Justin Rose, Max Homa, and Corey Connors are at 50. So we got a nice array of guys between 27 and 50. I'll let you lead it off. I think we're going to be just rapid fire here.
Yeah, I like Cam Smith. That's where I'm starting my card. Not a guy I take all too much, but I feel like this is a pretty good setup for him this week. I kind of mentioned it in the opening how accuracy hasn't been overly important off the tee here. That kind of perks my ears up when I think of Cam Smith, who, kind of struggles with his accuracy off the tee. That's his weakness in his game. If that's not going to kill him this week, I like the rest of his game a whole lot. He's second in approach his last 36 rounds in this field. He hasn't lost strokes on approach since the Sony Open back in January. He's 8th in opportunities gained and 2nd in birdie or better gained over his last 36. So I like Cam a lot. I mean, he can get hot with the putter. He's one of those guys that can really go on a run and go low. And like I said, I mean, if he's not going to necessarily take himself out of it by missing fairways, I think this is a course that he could certainly excel on. And I think it's a pretty good number for him. I mean, he's 28 here on FanDuel. I got a 30, but you look at next week at the Open Championship, he's 22-1. This is, it's a strong field. It's a slightly weaker field than we're going to see next week, and you're getting a better number on him. I just couldn't pass that up.
Yeah, that's certainly fair. I mean, I definitely the run that Smith was on a few months ago, you wouldn't expect to see him at this good of odds on a link style course. His game definitely suits this type of golf, so I would expect Smith to play well this week. I didn't get there with him, even though he's playing tremendously. He's been great on the par fives, great on approach, makes a ton of birdies, great putter, pretty much everything you're looking for this week. Cam Smith definitely does it. But another guy who I can't stop taking for good reason, Sam Burns, is staring me down at a 30-1 as well. And his one appearance in the Scottish Open, finished 18th here last year, and he's coming in a good form. He missed a cut at the Travelers, might have been a little bit, I want to say, fatigued. He played well at the RBC, finished fourth, played well at the U.S. Open, kind of imploded on Sunday to finish 27th, and then 3 weeks in a row played the Travelers, missed the cut. I think he's kind of regrouped and will be ready to attack this course in Scotland. He's long off the tee. His irons have been phenomenal this year. He's 11th on approach over his last 36 rounds, 9th in birdies gained, 1st in strokes gained under par fives in his last 36 rounds. Pretty much any style of surface Sam Burns is going to be a good putter on, so I like him there. And like I said, he's pretty long. He's 17th in his field in driving distance over his last 36 rounds. So I'm not going to get off the Sam Burns train probably before the end of the season, so I'm going to ride it out and see if we can grind through another couple wins. Sam Burns back in the card. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good pick. I think this is a good setup for him. Like I said, a lot of these Americans, we don't have a whole lot of history with them over here and how they play on links courses, but that just means that with less experience, they're going to be taking it all the more seriously this week. I certainly think that he's capable of getting it done, so I do like that.
Yeah, and I think both with Smith and a lot of these guys in this territory. Because Scheffler, Rahm, JT, Fitzpatrick, and Xander are all here, we're getting good numbers on guys that have won golf tournaments this year and have great odds this week. So I like starting our cards there. And also, Burns. He played well at the Scottish Open last year, and then made the cut at the Open and finishing dead last of guys who did make the cut. So I'm hoping. His major form has turned around. So I'm hoping for a decent number next week on Burns, but if he doesn't get a good number, I'm hoping that means that he won this week. So I'll go with that. So after that, I'm gonna go to a guy who just hasn't really played good golf of late, but feels like a great course for Victor Hovland.
Yeah.
It's been I love it. It's been a scary little few months. He really hasn't played well since the Players back in March, where he was on a great run. He won the Mayakoba in November, 2 top fives of the Genesis and Arnold Palmer between February and March, finished 9th at the Players. And then he hasn't played awful. He's only missed one cut. It happened to be at the U.S. Open the last time we saw him. But he doesn't have a top 20 since the Players. And now we're seeing this big drift on Hovland in the outright market. 35-1 is probably the best number you can get on him. Might be able to get a 40. But I think Victor kind of hops out of his rut here this week and is going to play some good golf. It's really been his around the green game, which has been an atrocity. And his putter, it's not been horrible, but he still just makes a little too many mistakes on the greens. But I think this week he can be long off the tee, lock in those irons, give himself plenty of birdie looks. And I think this is the type of event that Hovland, at this point in his career, is going to excel at more so than the tougher events. So I think he'll probably win this week and then maybe not play too hot at the Open the next week. But I'm liking that this could be the Hovland breakout week. And it's better to be early on Vic getting back into form than it is late. So I think 35-1 is a pretty nice number.
Yeah, I agree. I think this might just kind of be the perfect storm this week with Hovland. We've talked about this recently with him, how it's tougher. I like him better on a birdie fest type of event than those tougher courses because it's tough for him to kind of scramble around and save pars when he's that bad around the green. And that's kind of what we've seen a lot lately between the Memorial, U.S. Open, PGA at Southern Hills, even the Wells Fargo right before that played tough. And I think that a lot of his struggles in terms of finishes lately is just a result of these courses have not set up well for him. Now you see him drift down to, like you said, 35. I can't remember the last time we saw him, down here at this number. He was going off around 20-1 in March. Now you get him back on that link style course that he's comfortable on in an event where we can see the winner go into the 20s, it kind of feels like a real good setup for him. He's still sixth on approach in his last 36 rounds, 10th in ball striking, 23rd off the tee. His putting hasn't been that bad. I mean, there's some stuff that he has to clean up a little bit, but it's mostly been the around the green, like you said, that's been killing him. He's 7th in opportunities gained in his last 36, so I just kind of feel like this is a really good spot for him and a really good number. I like him a lot this week too. That was one of the ones that I saw and just could not pass on.
Love it. All right, so we're both on Vic. I don't think we've ever both been on Vic in the same week, so that's good vibes. I like that. And yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's definitely one of those buying low type scenarios where, I mean, you're not going to see – if he's playing to his highest ceiling, you're not going to see him at these numbers. So I like that a lot. I'll let you go next. I mean, plenty of names still between 27 and 50.
Yeah, I am going to go back to our guy, Joaquin Neiman.
Okay. Another team pick. Love it.
Yeah, we've been taking him a little bit. And he's been playing well, but it's just been a little bit inconsistent with the irons. I mean, he barely lost on approach. He lost 0.6 on approach at the Travelers. He gained 3.6 at the US Open. So that was good on a tough track. And he gained 6.3 at the Memorial, where he finished third. That was a month ago. So his irons have been slightly inconsistent, but 2 of the last 3 times we've seen him, he did look good with them. I'm hoping that, he gets back on track with that this week because he's obviously very good off the tee. He's 7th off the tee his last 36 rounds. He's got the distance here. He's 14th in ball striking. And he's one of those guys that can get real hot and go low too. So I'm hoping, I mean, I feel like we've been saying this for a while, but he just kind of seems like he's due for a win. This might be kind of one of the events that he could break out and take advantage of. I think it's a pretty good number for him. And I'm not getting off quite yet because he's been knocking on the door. And I think he's going to break through soon.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. I mean, it's not like that he's not due. I mean, he's played well and obviously won back in February at the Genesis and played really well that week. And we've seen flashes of that since, like you mentioned, the Memorial. Similar to Hovland, I think this is going to be a great track for him. Long off the tee. He can lock in with those irons. He's going to give himself plenty of opportunities. He's going to give himself eagle looks in the par 5s. The shorter par 4s, he's going to be right up there. And we've seen him come full circle this year in terms of his game, where he is as about as well-rounded as it gets, and we haven't seen it really all click since Riviera. So I'm thinking that this will be a great week for him to get that going. So I like Joaquin as well. 40-1 felt great. I don't know if you're going to get too much better than that. That seems to be like the industry standard on Neiman this week. So I'm on there as well. Love it. I now bring you to my predicament in this range. I like 2 Englishmen that I've never made me any money, which is Tommy Fleetwood and Tyrrell Hatton. And I'm having a hard time deciding between the 2 because I definitely want to be on board with 1. I may be on board with 2, but I think I'm going to try to stick to 1 here. Fleetwood is at 45 on DraftKings. They're both at 45 on DraftKings, and on FanDuel, 45 on Hatton, 37 on Fleetwood. I think I trust Fleetwood a little bit more right now, and I think that's where I'm leaning. He's also finished runner-up at this event. He's coming in pretty good form. I mean, I definitely took him at the US Open, and he missed the cut. Not great. Before that, we saw him finish top 10 at the RBC, 5th at the PGA. Most recently, pretty underwhelming at the Travelers, finished 46th. But Tommy in Europe feels a little bit safer of a to-win bet than Tommy stateside. So I think Tommy is a pretty good play this week. Similarly to – I guess not really similarly. I just kind of like his comfortability over in Europe. I think he'll be in a good place mentally. I think he's played really consistent golf since really the turn of the calendar in 2022. We've seen him run off 5 straight top 22s earlier this year and from March into April with the Arnold Palmer, the Players, the Valspar, the Masters, and the RBC. And then it all kind of came into fruition at the PGA where he finished 5th. He's taken a little bit of a step back over the last few weeks, but now back in Europe, link-style golf, I think Fleetwood will be all over it this week. If he can get the putter rolling, I think he's going to be certainly in the mix. So 45-1, I think I kind of made my decision there between Fleetwood and Haddon. So I'm rolling with Tommy.
Yeah, I'm certainly never going to knock Fleetwood. Like I said, in Europe, this is where he's got his wins. I can never really seem to figure him out. I guess he's played well at this event. I kind of tend to think of him on like these tougher, grinded out courses, but he's certainly picked up, plenty of victories in Europe, so I'm sure he can get it done. Really any type of track over here. So I don't hate that. And like you said, I think out of them two guys, Fleetwood and Hatton, he's definitely been kind of more reliable as of late.
Yeah, he's definitely played a little bit better golf. Hatton kind of under the radar, and they're both under the radar considering Fitzpatrick now has overtaken them for Englishman of the Year, where he's now won a major championship, and Fleetwood's still struggling to win his first event on the PGA Tour. So, but I think they both have a little more to play for this year. Feeling like they're getting overlapped by their younger statesmen. So
yeah, I mean, we talked about Fitzpatrick, breaking through and kind of allowing Xander to do the same at the Travelers. Maybe he's unlocked something for the Englishman as well.
We'll see. We shall see. You taking anyone else under 50-1, Matt?
Yes. Well, at 50-1, I'm going to take Max Homa. Not an uncommon name on this show, but Homa kind of statistically rates out about as well as possible. I mean, he's 5th on approach last 36 rounds, 14th off the tee, 17th in ball striking, 12th in birdie or better gain, 7th in eagles gain. So kind of seems to do everything well. I mean, I think the one concern with Homa would be lack of experience over here on, kind of these links courses, but it was sort of a numbers play. I mean, 50-1 is a good enough number for me to take a shot at him. I look at some of the other guys around him, and, if my choices are between him, Lucas Herbert, Ryan Fox, I'm just going to take Homa because I think he's the best player. I know there's a little bit of a lack of experience over here across the seas, but I think that he's been too good lately, and he's proven himself as a winner. And I'm not going to look for reasons not to pick him anymore. So it just made sense for me.
All right, fair enough. I mean, I think people have gotten used to you taking Homa pretty much regardless at this point. And I mean, it's not gonna not pay off when he's already won us tons of money this year. So
yeah, I mean, we hit on him at like 60-1 and 40-1 already this year. It's like if you're going to keep putting those numbers next to him, I'm going to keep taking him, and he's going to win at a higher rate.
Yep, I like that. So I guess just to rattle off, I mean, Lucas Herbert and Ryan Fox obviously are going to be a couple of popular European plays this week. They're just at kind of unbettable numbers for me. I mean, they don't play in these types of fields very often. I think they will have a little bit of an advantage playing in Europe more often, playing league style golf a little bit more often. But not to knock them. I mean, they've both played extremely well. Ryan Fox has been on a roll. Hasn't been able to close the door on a victory recently, but has been playing extremely good golf. And I think he'll be a popular play this week amongst the golf Twitter community, but I'm not going to get there. No. And then I think Horschel and Sungjae are both at pretty fair numbers too. I think this is a very good range here, so I would expect people to have them on their cards as well. But moving on, I think we're quickly getting to long shot range after you get over 60. We have Robert McIntyre, Bobby Mack, another Euro Tour player. Cameron Young is at 60 as well. Then Mito Pereira, Aaron Rye, Keith Mitchell, Adrian Moronk, Victor Perez, all 65-1 on FanDuel. Then Varner, Leishman, Sebastian Munoz, Christian Bazane, who all at 70, 75. Then a slew of guys at 80, and we're over 100 as well. So I don't have too many more outright plays to make this week, Matt. Over 50, what are you looking at?
I have some decisions to make. I mean, I'm considering Bobby Mack. He is Scottish. He's played well at this event. He's coming off a 13th place finish last week where he played pretty well. Kind of seems to be a really good fit for him. And he's got a lot of talent. He's super long. He's talked about this week, kind of in the press conference, how much this event means to him, being his home country. So I can see him playing well. I think I'm definitely going to get there with the top 20. Not sure about an outright yet. Keith Mitchell kind of always piques my interest, 65-1.
Yeah.
A little bit concerning, with the Lynx style course. He's not really used to this, but coming in, I mean, he finished, 6th and 7th in his last 2 starts. The irons have kind of been similar to Neiman, hit and miss. I mean, he finished 6th at the Travelers, where he lost strokes in approach. He gained 2.4 at the RBC Canadian Open, and he finished 7th. Barely lost the Memorial. He came 18th, and then he barely gained to the PGA. He finished 34th, so he's playing really good golf right now. I think I'll definitely be on him for a top 20. Might get there with an outright as well. Probably one of those two is going to make it on there. And then I'm going to toss in one bomb way down the board. But, I don't know if you had thoughts on either of those two, if you could kind of help me.
Yeah, I mean,
talk me into one way or the other.
I mean, I think if you're looking at those two, Bobby Mack probably feels like a little bit safer of a play considering the Lynx style course. Although, I mean, it is something to say about, the extra motivation, a little bit of hometown pressure. Maybe not hometown, but, he's in Scotland, his home country. I think there's a little added pressure there. But we've seen him play well there, too. So I don't hate that. I've definitely considered Bobby Mack this week. I do think that the top 20 play is probably a little bit safer. But, hey, I mean, what did he finish top? Did he finish top 20 here last year? 18th? Yeah. So, I mean, there's something to be said about Bobby Mack. We could be onto something there with the top 20. I don't love the 60-1 number. I may be looking for something a little bit better.
Yeah, I think we missed a bit of a number on him. I mean, I thought I saw like an 80 earlier, and I couldn't make my mind up. Maybe that's an omen for me not to take him. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I also, to be honest, I don't love this range between 60 and 100. I think once you get here, you may even be better off kind of jumping down into the true bombs over 100. But the last guy I was looking at this week is Mito at 65. I think that this is going to be a course that sets up well for him too. I mean, the accuracy off the tee won't be a huge issue. His irons can kind of be on full display. We've seen him be a ball striking savant over the last few months, and we'll probably continue to see for the foreseeable future. Still top 10 on stroke gain approach, 3rd in ball striking. He's been really good off the tee. He's great on the par 5s. And the things that kind of let him down are on the greens and around him as well. So I'm thinking if he can kind of lock in and be elite as he can be with his irons, I think he's got a nice shot this week. I know he'll be a newcomer. And we've seen some strange names win this event. So I think Mito, talent-wise, is at a pretty good number at 65, and I'd like that a lot. So I think that'll be my potential last play on the outright card, but I do have some thoughts down the board with some longer tickets, but couldn't really get there with really too much else in this range. I mean, obviously Moronk won last week on the European Tour at the Irish Open. Aaron Rai played well last week as well, and he's played well at this event. But kind of tough to pull the trigger in this range. I think Bobby Mack would be where I would lean in terms of what you're looking at. But other than that, I think we'll probably get into some long shot plays here.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I almost feel like the European guys, I maybe it's just an angle I'm taking. I almost just feel like it's something like those bets that you're just getting suckered into because, like, I get it's the style of course they're used to playing, but I do feel like they're like way worse talent than the American.
Right. No. And if this field event were stateside, at a different course,
Moronk is what, 180-1?
Yeah. Right. No. Yeah. You're seeing much different numbers on these guys. So, and I mean, yeah, they're playing in fields that they're not used to. I mean, they're not used to seeing 9 of the top 10 players in the world being in their field and having to, at the end of the day on Sunday, probably dealing with at least 1 or 2 of them. So it's not going to be easy to close this event. So I kind of lean towards the, at least ceiling talent-wise, being able to close the door and look less at maybe the angle of feeling comfortable on this style of course, because we've seen plenty of guys go low at this event. We've seen Americans play well here too. So I think we're on the same page there. So, I mean, bombs away, I've read off towards upwards of 75-80-1. There's plenty of names here. I mean, Hao Tong Lee is at 95-1. He's coming off a win in Europe as well. I don't know what we would have seen him at if he didn't just win recently. Matt Kuchar is still under 100 to 1 and 95 to 1. I guess he's played pretty good. He's pretty good, consistent links golfer. He's getting old, but he's under 100 to 1 as well. But yeah, I'll open the floor. Any long shot plays you're looking at, whether they're top 10s, top 20s, anything, let's fire away.
Gave a little consideration to EVR. He's coming off some tough results, recently, but he has played really well at this course. I think he had a 6th and a 13th in his last 2 appearances. So something's going right for him here. He is also a former Euro Tour member, so he's comfortable playing, over on these style courses. He'd done it for years. I might try to look for, a little bit deeper, like a top 30 or something on him, see what kind of number I can get. He piqued my interest. And then I had someone very deep that I can get to. So I don't know if you had anyone else in mind.
Right. Yeah, I'm just going to rattle off a few things here. So Russell Knox, obviously Scottish-born player as well. Had a really nice run at the beginning of 2022, and it's kind of fallen off since then. I don't know if we would have seen him at 140 to 1 if he was kind of in the form we had seen back in February. But I may be looking at a top 20 for Russell Knox this week. He's definitely going to be feeling comfortable at this event. The Hogard brothers, the up-and-comers on the Euro Tour, they both have wins under their belt. They're at 140 and 190 to 1. They're both freak show iron players. They're going to be – I don't know if they'll ever reach their full potential, but, I mean, they're certainly names to watch out for as we watch this event this week, because they definitely have the elite talent to put up some low scores. It's really the consistency with them to see if they can hold on for a full weekend in this type of field. But those certainly open my eyes a little bit. John Catlin, another American who plays on the Euro Tour, who's played extremely well in some of these link style events. He's at 160 to 1. So I am interested in the Euro Tour players to a degree in terms of angling on a top 20, top 30 market. But really, once you get down here, I think it's pretty tough for any of these guys to really close this event this week. I don't think we're going to see as random of a winner as we've seen in the past few years. I think one of the guys under 50 to 1 gets it done, and that's kind of where I'm holding the action on most of my card. That being said, Ricky Fowler is back in the field, and I'm probably going to place a top 20 or top 30 bet on him this week as well. Another former Scottish Open champion back in 2015. Wasn't at this course. And that year, Matt Kuchar actually finished runner-up. So 2 American veterans to keep your eye on this week as well.
Okay, I like those angles. I like those plays.
And then there are some real bombs down there. Fire away.
Yeah, well, I'm seeing a guy at 280 to 1. Didn't even catch him in the field the first time around. Then I noticed he was there, and I just could not scroll past him. I think I can get you on board with the finishing position here. The Bullet.
Okay.
The Bullet. He's 280 to 1 to win. Maybe
Marcus Armitage.
Yeah, plus 280 for a top 40 and plus 400 for a top 30. Can't even imagine what he is for a top 20, but yeah, I mean, this is a guy who's had some pretty good finishes over there. He's got some talent. Bit inconsistent, but also if you watch him play a few holes, you will fall in love with him. Great guy. Easy to root for. I can't pass on him at that kind of number, so he will be on the card in some form. Maybe even a sprinkle for the win.
Okay. I didn't know if you were going to say Stuart Sink or not. He's also at 280 to 1.
Yeah, well, I went to Stuart Sink the other week and did not work out for me, so he might be banned from the card moving forward.
Okay. Another young up-and-comer I'm looking at down here in the 300 to 1 section, Guido Migliozzi, obviously a young Italian kid we've seen play, and be a big name potentially coming over from Europe. He played well at the U.S. Open the last time we saw him. Finished 14th. Not exactly sure how he's played since then in the European Tour, although I do know he definitely missed a cut at the one event. So
yeah, I took him last week. He was actually playing well for a little bit, but I don't know typically what his main skill set is, but he had missed quite a few 5-footers that I was watching. But he was hitting it all right, so maybe turns
you wouldn't
that around.
Suggest getting in on Guido.
What's that?
So you wouldn't necessarily suggest getting an Aguero this league.
Although, I mean, it's a pretty good number. I think last week he was like 50-1. I mean, obviously a much weaker field, but that number seems really high.
It does. Another guy's number who I think seems extremely high currently is Caleb Tarrant, who we just saw last week at the John Deere play really well. Finished 6th at the John Deere and played pretty good golf this year on the PGA Tour. He's played a lot of PGA Tour golf over the last 6 months. We saw him finish 5th at Puerto Rico, 31st at the U.S. Open. Had a nice little run of made cuts, didn't play well at the Travelers. I'm kind of buying this Caleb Tarrant action coming. It's an insane number. So I'm looking for him to be top 20, top 30, where I think you're going to get some pretty great numbers. And current form is great. I mean, in this type of field, I don't know if I would expect him to contend to win. But he's certainly long off the tee, and he's going to give himself plenty of birdie looks on this course. So I do like Caleb Tarrant as a little bit of a long shot top 20 play. That's
he actually was popping out to me in a few categories I was looking at. I don't know if I'm going to get there with them because I'm just kind of going through some things, and my card is looking a little bit more crowded than I had anticipated. But that seems to happen as we get on the board.
Right. No. Yeah. And I mean, I guess I'm maybe a little bit too many Englishmen on my card this week, but Caleb Tarrant maybe rounding it out there. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think you could make a case for taking a bunch of guys over 100-1 and hoping a few of them make it to the top of the leaderboard on Sunday and giving you some options there. But I really do believe that the winner this week will come from under 50-1. I think this is a pretty loaded field. It's going to be a birdie fest, so I think there will be some unique names that kind of sneak into the mix. But other than that, I think we're going to see a pretty elite winner this week. So, boss, why don't we bring you in here, see what you got this week, and we'll give you our one and done picks.
I was going to jump in at one point and ask you about Ricky Fowler, but you beat me to it. So
yeah, good.
Hat tip to you, sir.
Thank you.
Also, side note, hold on, let me pull it back up. I know it was a Pro-Am, that Scott Irish Hot Tiger Pro-Am thing that Xander won.
Right.
Sam Burns finished second, shot 900 today.
Okay.
And Ricky, it's loading for me, but Ricky was like top 5 or something like that too. So Ricky played well there. So
okay,
a couple little nuggets for you guys as you're, talking through things here. Thought you'd like that.
I do like that.
I actually don't have much this week. This tournament's kind of put my brain in a pretzel a little bit, just trying to balance all the, better players, European field, major coming up. What do we do? A couple things I have landed on. I'm going to go Cam Smith and Sam Burns up at the top. Going to take those two guys. Obviously, kind of jumping on some plays there, so I love that. I was hoping to get a little Ryan Fox action, but the books have put a kibosh on that with the numbers that they're dishing out.
Yep.
I mean, probably a finishing position because he can't win on the DP Tour, so I don't see him winning in this field. But he's just playing fantastic right now. But can't really do it at that price. I think I'm going to be in on Billy Horschel though. Billy might be a Billy boy this week.
Okay.
And he's been in Europe for a couple weeks, maybe up to a month. I want to say because he played one of the DP Tour events in Germany, like randomly, and it was like, what's Billy Horschel doing here? Like a month ago almost. But I heard that he stayed in Europe the whole time. So, he's been playing in Europe for the past month. So, I kind of like that. He's had some success. He's won over there before. So, I could see Billy having a good week. And then I need a little more European on my card. So, Bobby Mack might have gotten that last slot. But I was also thinking about Aaron Rye. Probably like a top 10 kind of deal for either of those guys.
Okay. A little mixed bag there. I like it. Like the Cam Smith bird shout out. Yeah, I mean, Billy Horschel's at a pretty good number considering he's played really good golf, and he's at the same number as Ryan Fox, who also has played good golf, but has never won a tournament like the Memorial.
But is Ryan Fox.
Correct. So I like your heads out there. Now, we're getting into crunch time here for the one and done selections. So I'll tee it off with saying that I have 7 players of worth left to pick this year with 7 events remaining before the Tour Championship. I'm having a tough time making decisions here this week and also trying to look ahead to future weeks. But I think at the end of the day, I'm going to be between Fitzpatrick, Cantlay, and Burns this week, which is not really narrow it down too much. But Fitzpatrick running hot, feel like he's cannot possibly have ruined the good juju he has going right now. Now he's playing in Europe on a link style course, which I think sets up well for his game. Obviously, don't love the outright number, but I think it's pretty safe to say he'll play well this week and probably next week too. So I do like, even if you're looking at finishing positions with Fitzpatrick. And then Cantlay, there's just a ton of people have taken Cantlay this year already. He's only at 22% available. So I think he might be a decent pivot this week. He's played pretty well besides his kind of implosion on Sunday at the Travelers. And then Sam Burns, I've been trying to save this year to take at a big event. But I'm nervous taking him in Europe and kind of feel like better saving him for the Northern Trust or the BMW. So that's where I'm down with one and done. I'm in 184th out of 4,440 in the Mayo Cup. Realistically, a win or two away from a nice payout there. So what are you guys doing this week in one and done? Like I mentioned before we got on the call, before we started the show today, if you win 2 of the last 7 events, you're going to make huge strides. You could be in some big money. So never say never.
I'm floating around the 2,000 mark right now. But I think that I'm going to take Cam Smith this week.
Okay.
It feels like a pretty good setup for him, and I don't know. I don't know where else I would use him. I think I'm going to try to get a little bit more risky next week, so kind of feels like a decent spot for him this week.
All right, yeah. I mean, if it wasn't for Cam Smith, I wouldn't be in the position I'm in right now because the Players was like a $3.3 million win. So
I feel like also Cam Smith, I mean, I don't have it up in front of me, but I feel like he's been pretty highly used as well.
Yes, he's actually not as highly as you would think. He's 48% available.
Not great.
Which of the guys at the top, he's the most available.
Yeah, okay, that's not great. I was between him and Hovland. We'll have to see about that one.
Yeah, they're both at the same availability, basically.
Well.
Boss.
Well, I have 2 ideas, which neither of them really matter given the position I'm in. But I guess in theory, I need to just win out with people that aren't being used for other people. So Cam Smith was like the highest up guy on the list that I had, but I think he'll be popular. So I mean, I might just get crazy and use Ryan Fox because if he actually fucking wins this, no one's gonna have him, and he could play well. So I'm gonna use Ryan Fox, but again, don't listen to what I'm doing. So.
Okay, all right. I think he'll actually be more highly picked than you think because he hasn't been available to be picked until today.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a pretty good point. Yeah. But I also just think there's so many better players. Like if you're actually, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. I see what you're saying.
It's definitely not like a safe play.
No,
so I don't think he'll be that highly owned.
No. I also, again, I'm like flirting with 4,000, so I'm literally the bottom of the barrel, and I haven't missed a pick. So that just tells you where my status is here, folks.
Right. All right. Well, brief recap before we end the show today. I'm taking Burns, Hovland, Fleetwood, Neiman, and Mito. I may add a long shot play, but I think I'm going to kind of tie it down there. And then top 20s, going to be looking at Bobby Mack, Russell Knox, potentially Van Rooyen. I like that little shout out you had, Matt.
Thank you.
I'm probably going to add something on Rasmus Højgaard. And then real long shot with Guido and Caleb Taryn, going to be looking at top 20, top 30 plays there. So going to be keeping it relatively light on the units in terms of those long shot top 20, top 30 plays. But I think it's a pretty good week to be a little diverse there in terms of trying to pick a couple of Euro players that are maybe a little undervalued as compared to some of the overvalued guys that we went through at the top of the board.
Yeah, I like that. I have Cam Smith up top, Victor Hovland, Joaquin Neiman, Max Homa. Then I think I'm going to decide Bobby Mack over Keith Mitchell there.
Okay.
And possibly
it'll be a real kick to the nuts if Keith Mitchell wins.
But. Yeah, it's going to be real. That's going to be real. Yeah. I don't want to think about that.
No.
And possibly a sprinkle on Marcus Armitage, the bullet way down there. And then for finishing positions, probably some combination of the guys I just mentioned, along with EVR and Keith Mitchell.
All right. All right, and then Boss is on Burns and Scotty with us, throwing some Horschel money around as well. So I like that. We got a couple group winner potentials. Yeah, let's get it done. Obviously, this is a big lead-up week into next week at the Open. I prefaced this episode by not knowing how much you can really take from playing well at the Scottish Open into having success at the Open, but I think it'll be something to keep an eye on in the future because we're going to see more PGA Tour players playing this event than we have in the past. So I do expect one of the top 25 players in this field to win the event. So let's see what we're working with, and hopefully we can bounce back off of a little hiatus and a little bit of a bad run over the past couple of weeks. So let's turn it around.
Yeah, hopefully a Victory Monday coming next Monday.
We can use a Victory Monday. Victory Monday for the boys on a major week. Nothing better than that. So talk to you guys next week. Until then, stay classy.